You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Not a bad day for a running back who is not athletic. I don't know. It looked pretty good to me. Hey, everyone. This is Richie Bradshaw, host of the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This is a live edition of Locked On Sun Devils. Do not worry. If you miss the live, it is still going to be archived. You can find it on YouTube, and it will be posted wherever you're getting your shows. So if you listen on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, whatever, still going to be there. Man, this was a good day for Cam Skattebo. And I don't think people were ready for this. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't going into today thinking that Cam was going to do what he was going to do. Now, I definitely believed that it was going to be a day where he wasn't going to look like this stiff, incompetent athlete, I suppose. Like, I had no doubt that Cam was going to be able to show off that, hey, I'm a little bit more than this upright running back who is strictly between the tackles. So, unfortunately, we didn't get a 40-yard dash, which I'm not surprised personally. If I saw something correctly, I want to say someone had mentioned he was dealing with something, not so much an injury, but like there was something that he felt was slowing him down. Not 100% sure. What I do know is it's not overly surprising because I think the biggest question now is how fast he actually is. Going into today, there was a handful of questions. There was 1, how fast is he? 2, how athletic is he? 3, how big is he? Let's start with the big part. So we don't have the 40 time. We'll get that at ASU's Pro Day. I don't have a date yet, although we do have the dates announced for spring ball. That'll be something that we talk about next week. So if you're not subscribed, make sure that you subscribe to the podcast Monday through Friday. Cam Skattebo ends up measuring in 5 feet, 9.5 inches. It is shorter than I thought. Like I've said before, like he's 5'11" in cleats, but I assumed he was, like if you rounded up, he was 5'11". Not if you round up, he's 5'10". Like I didn't think he was that short, quote unquote. But I mean, I'm not overly surprised. I don't think anyone was going in and assuming that Cam was closer to 6 feet than he was closer to 5'9". So that's not the biggest surprise in the world. I just thought he was a little bit taller. The weight, I think, looks good at 219. I think that's a really good playing weight for him, considering the style of football that he plays as that downhill runner and someone who is physical. Now, I did mention on yesterday's podcast when I was talking about my pro comparison for him. If you haven't checked that one out, definitely check that out because it was a really fun show where we give pro comparisons that aren't Christian McCaffrey and Mike Allstott. But he's not a power back, right? He's not this Marshawn Lynch or Mike Allstott kind of player, but he does play with a lot more physicality compared to some of the other backs that are around that 5'9", 5'8" range. Like you more often than not see those guys more as like scat backs and like specifically pass catchers or special teams players and stuff like that. That's not Cam. Cam is put the ball in my hand. I'm going to go make a play, whether it's making someone miss in space or putting a dude in the ground. That's just the way that Cam Skattebo plays the position. So 219, I love it. I think that's a really good weight for him. A little shorter than I thought is what it is. As far as arm length and hand size, I don't put as much stock into it for the running back position that I might for wide receiver or quarterback. Like that's not something that I'm like, oh man, that's really, really important. Or like the arm length where you would worry about it for like offensive and defensive linemen and stuff like that. I don't read too much into that. So the height, the weight, totally good with that. Then the third question that people had was how athletic is he? And I would say that he answered that question pretty well. So he's not running the 40, which means we're not going to get the 10-yard split. I'm expecting both of those to be taken care of at ASU's Pro Day. So I would also assume that some of the other drills, including the 20-yard shuttle and the 3-cone drill, will also be things that he performs at ASU's Pro Day. But he did compete in the vertical jump, and he competed in the broad jump. I don't think you guys understand how insane his performances were for the vertical jump and the broad jump. He had a 39.5-inch vertical. Now, to put that in perspective, the position average for vertical jump is a little over 34 inches, like 34.2, a bunch of numbers after that. He was well above that. This is also 5'9.5". He's not the 6'1" Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry or Leonard Fournette or any of the other bigger running backs. He is jumping from what a lot of people would consider undersized. And he's on the heavier side too for the position. Like, you don't think of a 5 foot, we're just going to call him 5'9" for the remainder of the podcast. You wouldn't think that a 5'9" running back who is around 220 pounds would be able to get up the way that he does. Like, my man is dunking. Probably not. I don't know. I'm not even close, but Skattebo might be able to hit rim at 5'9". Like, that is impressive for him to be able to get up that high. I want to say I saw it was like the 93rd percentile or something like that amongst running backs since 1999. That's nuts. Top 7% of running backs that have participated in the event since the turn of the century. For a guy that everyone was wondering, is he athletic enough? Is he explosive enough? Yeah, I'd say so. Broad jump looked good too. 10 feet 3 inches for the broad jump. Again, the average is, I want to say it was like 9 feet and about 5 inches or something like that. It's in the description of the podcast on YouTube. If you guys are wanting to look at the description for me real quick and just let me know, because I, of course, did not think to put it in my notes. It's in there for what the averages were compared to what he actually put up. And he was above the average for vertical jump and broad jump. Pretty darn good. And I know a lot of people will look at that and they'll go, well, what's the point? Like, I'm not asking Cam Skattebo to go up and, knock the ball away like a defensive back, or I'm not asking him to do a broad jump when he's on the field or anything like that. Why does that stuff matter? Well, that stuff really shows off some athletic traits to be able to propel your body and stuff like that. Richie Bradshaw, who is anything but athletic, is not touching those numbers. Me and my buddies did like a faux combine a few years ago when we were trying to decide our draft order for our fantasy football league. My numbers were horrible across the board, like as I expected, but it was nowhere near anything that Cam was doing. It was nowhere near the average for the running back position. It's a big deal what he was able to do today, and especially for the limited size that he has. Because at the end of the day, 5'9" is very much on the shorter side for just about any NFL position, and running back is probably closer to around 5'11", I would imagine, on the average. And I mean, running backs are bigger today, but neither here nor there. This was a really good showing for Cam Skattebo with the limited amount of stuff that he did. I love it. I absolutely love it. So looking at his draft profile on NFL.com, and this is where I get the measurements and everything. So the 5'9.5", 219 pounds, I am looking at his prospect page that NFL.com has. Pretty good. So the production score that they gave him was a 93, which was the second best for the running backs this year. I imagine the only one ahead of him is probably Ashton Genty. Athleticism score, which they're giving an estimate as of right now, was a 73. which is 19th in this class. Obviously, that's on the lower end, but it's not dead last. It's not dead last. And his total score for 2025 is an 88, which also has him second. I assume that is probably subject to change depending on what happens with the athleticism score. If he goes lower, maybe he gets a third or fourth or something like that. Overall, I mean, that checks out really, really good for him. And I am absolutely stoked with the way that he performed at the Combine. Now, again, we're going to have to wait for some of the other events when ASU's Pro Day comes around. And unfortunately, you have a lot of people that will look at Pro Day stuff and they're like, oh, it's not official. It doesn't mean as much. It's more control, blah, blah, blah. Like, I do agree with that to a certain extent. There is definitely variables that you were going to be able to control in your own facility compared to when you are at Lucas Oil Stadium. But I also don't look at that and sit there and go, oh, yeah, he's going to shave a whole 1/10 of a second off of, or 100th of a second off of his 40 time. No, that is not the case. Maybe it is a 1/10 of a second. I don't know. He doesn't go from 4.5 to 4.2 just because he does a 40 time at the Sun Devils facility in Tempe compared to in Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. That's not how that works. So you still are going to put stock into the numbers that he puts up at ASU's Pro Day. Now, you can say they're unofficial. That's up to you. But we will be finding out when that rolls around. More than likely. Is there a chance he doesn't do it? Sure, but I just don't see why he wouldn't do it. Like, there is the drawback, right? He could run a 40 time and be a 4.6 or lower, and that's going to hurt his position. But you're already kind of toting yourself around as a day 2 pick and like mid or even late day 2. Like, if he were to run a good 40 time, like low 4.5s, let's just say a 4.52, I think that shoots Skattebo way, way up the board. Like, he might be the number 2 running back in this class at that point. O'Marion Hampton's pretty darn good, though. His RAS score was off the charts for the running back position. Going to be very interesting. But Skattebo, I feel like he has way more to gain with a good 40 time than he has to lose with a bad 40 time. Because right now, I don't know that there's a huge change in perception here for Skattebo. He comes to the Combine, it's probably a day 2 guy. He's going to walk away from the Combine of, yeah, he's definitely a day 2 guy. Like, you solidified it, but I feel like you could continue to climb higher. If you have a good 40 time plus the vertical and the broad jump that you posted at the Combine and the ridiculous amount of production that you had in college, might be a top 50 pick. Might sneak into the first round depending on if a team in the back end really wants to get themselves a running back. I don't know. It's a very interesting situation here for what Skattebo can do. I again, just to emphasize, I feel like there is more to gain than there is to lose for Skattebo at this point in time. If you guys are in the live, thanks so much. I appreciate you guys for hopping in. Drop a comment. Let's have a conversation. What did you guys think of Cam Skattebo's performance? Was there anything that you found lackluster? Were you blown away by stuff? Low Tone Capone is in here. Good to see you, my friend. One of my everydayers. Absolutely love this fan base. You guys are the best subscribers in the world. I would say this is a very successful weekend, though, for Cam Skattebo. Now, another thing I wanted to bring up was he confirmed 4 different franchises that had spoken with him. The Arizona Cardinals, not a surprise. That was something that was, I think PHNX was the first ones to be told that. You also spoke with the Denver Broncos, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Chicago Bears. Starting with the Cardinals, they don't have a huge need at running back. I get it. They've got James Conner on a 2-year extension. Trey Benson is only going into the second year of his NFL career. Emari DeMercado is someone I really like, and like they've got other depth too, like Michael Carter is there. They have the depth at running back. They don't need Cam Skattebo. But sometimes you just take good football players when they're available, and if Cam Skattebo is available and the Cardinals feel that he matches the value of whatever that pick is, there's no harm in just taking good football players. So having a backfield of James Conner, Trey Benson, Emari DeMercado, and Cam Skattebo, yeah, it seems like a bit much. It definitely, you look at that and you're like, that's a hat on a hat. It seems excessive, but it just turns into a really good position group for you. And honestly, Skattebo can bring stuff that the others don't have. Like James Conner, above average pass catcher. Trey Benson, we didn't get to see it too much, but what we know of what he did when he was in college, when he was at Florida State, and some of his time at Oregon, he is an above average pass catcher. DeMercado, I honestly don't know. I can't think of what he's done as a pass catcher off the top of my head because he's just been in such a niche role. Cam Skattebo is a well above average pass catcher. For the running back position, I would dare argue he's elite. I truly would. 4 seasons in college. All 4 of those seasons, he averaged over 10 yards per reception. That is insane. Like, a good average for a running back as a pass catcher is anywhere between 7 to 8. And honestly, if you got like 6.7, 6.8, somewhere in that range, you're happy. Like, you're like, okay, well, it's good enough. I can check down to my guy and know that I can get half the distance I need for first down. Like, I go from 1st and 10 to 2nd and 4. That's awesome. I take that. But Cam Skattebo is averaging a first down every time he catches the football. And he's also the guy that just is able to break off the big play. So it makes sense if you want to connect the dots for why he could stay in Arizona and be a Cardinal. And honestly, like, that's a Michael Bidwell thing. Like, that would be such a big move and decision for him to just want to keep him in the Valley and not have to forfeit him going somewhere else. That sells jerseys, and that gets people to go into the stands and buy the jerseys and be invested in the oh my goodness, in the team and in the player, because Cam Skattebo is already a legend in the Valley as it is, with everything that he was able to do and everything that he was able to accomplish just in 2 years with the program. And you look at one of the most historic seasons that an ASU player and athlete across any sport has ever had. And he took ASU from consecutive 3-win seasons to the Peach Bowl in a double overtime game thriller against Texas. Like, he was doing some crazy things for you. It wouldn't be a surprise for Michael Bidwell to look at that and go, yeah, let's keep it here. Everyone already knows who Cam Skattebo is. That jersey is going to fly off the shelves. You thought Larry Fitzgerald jerseys were flying off. You thought Kyler Murray jerseys were flying off when those guys first got to town. Like, Cam Skattebo could be one of the highest selling rookie jerseys that the Cardinals have ever had. The other 3 teams, Denver Broncos, not a surprise. If you listen to the last 2 episodes of Locked on Sun Devils, both of them which were focused on Cam Skattebo, I said the Broncos were my pick. That is the team that I want Cam Skattebo to end up with. For them to be one of the 4 teams that has talked to him, that we know of. For all we know, he could have talked to all 32 teams. But we know for sure that he has talked to 4 different teams, and the Denver Broncos are one of them. And that is the team that I want to take Skattebo. It's a fantastic situation for him. It is a wide open backfield. There's guys, sure, Jaleel McLaughlin. I do like Audric Estime, but none of them are Cam Skattebo, and certainly none of them are the pass catcher that he is. And I also look at that Denver offense, and I go, outside of Cortland Sutton, who's your go-to number 2 target on the offense? Like, there's not really a tight end that you trust. Troy Franklin, Devon Vele, and Marvin Mims are role players. They don't look like true number 2, number 3 receivers. They look like guys that have important roles to the team. Like, Marvin Mims is that deep deep threat, downfield threat. Try to combine them. They have their roles. Cam Skattebo as a running back would have that role as potentially number 2. We also know that Sean Payton offenses get the most out of running backs. Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara, Darren Sproles, Pierre Thomas was a household name in the Big Easy when he was there. Reggie Bush. He gets the most out of his running backs, and especially the ones that can catch the football. And, well, lo and behold, that's what Cam Skattebo excels at. You put him in Denver, I tell you he should have top 5 odds to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. The other 2 teams, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I like it because the running backs that they already have on the roster have similar skill sets. Bucky Irving and Rachaad White, Arizona State Sun Devil Rachaad White, are both good runners with exceptional pass catching skills. So for them to be looking at Cam Skattebo, it's not a surprise because that's the type of running back that they have valued over the last handful of years. It makes sense. Now, should they draft him? I don't really know because there is that conversation about whether or not Rachaad White will even be on the team. I've seen the possibility of him being a cap casualty. He could be traded. And if that happens, then yeah, it makes a lot of sense for Cam to go there because they're going to want to have that 1A to, or the 1B to Bucky Irving's 1A. Like there is that value of having a backfield with multiple guys who can do all sorts of things for the offense. But if Rachaad White stays and Bucky Irving stays, you're running into an Arizona Cardinals situation where it's like you're kind of putting a hat on a hat. This is very excessive for a position that it's devalued, although it is regaining some of its importance after you saw the success of the Eagles, the Ravens, and the Packers this past season when they had elite running backs going for them. Last team my goodness, I'm just so excited about this. Last team he mentioned that talked to him was the Chicago Bears. I mentioned the Chicago Bears as one of my favorite landing spots for him. My 3 favorite landing spots for Cam Skattebo that I said yesterday on the podcast were in order the Denver Broncos, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Chicago Bears. Bears are awesome, man. Like that's a young offense. They are getting a complete makeover with Ben Johnson as their new head coach. I still love Caleb Williams. He had a good rookie season, all things considered. They're only going to make that offense better. They're investing in the offensive line, hopefully. DJ Moore will be 100% healthy. Roman Dunze will be in his second year. Cole Kmet is still a stud tight end. And DeAndre Swift is still a good running back. So you throw Cam Skattebo in that offense, and you have Swift ahead of them, which will allow Skattebo to get his feet underneath of him and just be able to adjust to that next level and not have the pressure of, oh, crap, I'm running back 1 right out the gate, like he probably would be with Denver. It's a situation where he can take some time and eventually usurp DeAndre Swift of the starting role, and I would imagine he takes that starting role before the end of his rookie year. 4 teams he talked to: Arizona Cardinals, Denver Broncos, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Chicago Bears. I like all 4 of those. Denver is definitely my number 1. If I had to rank them, I would go Denver, Chicago, Arizona, Tampa Bay. That would be my ranking. Denver, Chicago, Arizona, Tampa Bay. Checking the comments, everyone that is in here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Drop a comment. Let me know what you guys think about those 4 teams that have spoken with Cam Skattebo. Where do you want to see him go? What's the best fit for him? All right, let's see what's going on. Lotone Capone says the legend of Skattebo grows by the day and anywhere but the 49ers. We definitely don't want him to stay in the division. If you are a Cardinals fan, that would just break your heart. Like, that would be if he ended up being a Cincinnati Bengal. Like, that's the kind of damage it would do to me as a Baltimore Ravens fan. I would just be decimated to see Cam Skattebo end up being a Bengal. So even though I love the idea of Skattebo being on the 49ers because it's just the Kyle Shanahan special, I'm not manifesting it. Like I said, Denver is the one I am manifesting personally. BC, what's going on? Thanks for stopping in, my friend. Always good to see you, one of my everydayers. let's see. Lotone Capone says the Bears makes a lot of sense. It does. And I also like the idea that you just are really building a young nucleus for this team. Like you have a quarterback in his second year. You've got a wide receiver in his second year. You've got a running back in his first year. This offensive line should be much younger. You've got a running back that is still under the age of 30. You've got a wide receiver who is right around the age of 30. I want to say that DJ Moore's around like 28 or 29. Like this is a young group with some high upside players and guys that just know how to make plays. I would love Cam Skattebo to end up in Chicago. Andy in AZ, how are you doing, my friend? Thanks for stopping by. Stay where people love you. Yes, Arizona Cardinals, get the AZ butts in the seat. That's got to be like the pipe dream for Arizona fans, right? Is keeping a Valley legend in the Valley. Like I said, I feel like I would safely assume that Cam Skattebo would be one of the highest selling rookie jerseys in the history of the Arizona/Phoenix Cardinals. I don't know who else would be higher than him. Kyler Murray for sure. I'm willing to bet Josh Rosen was up there. Larry, I feel like Beanie Wells had a lot of jerseys sold for him. Patrick Peterson was definitely up there. Maybe Michael Floyd. Isaiah Simmons probably had pretty good fanfare too. But Cam Skattebo, who wouldn't even be a first-round pick for the Cardinals, he would sell a lot of jerseys. Like, I guarantee it. As long as he was able to sign a deal with Fanatics, which is one of the reasons why Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't have any officially licensed jerseys. I know that people got second and third hand knockoff jerseys. Shout out to my buddy Connor Drios. But I feel like that probably would have been the number one rookie jersey for Cardinals history in the state of Arizona. But Cam would challenge that because he already has so much value and so much fanfare in the Valley. It makes a lot of sense for me. Jonathan Garcia, good to see you. As always, I'm really liking how ASU players are seeing each other at the next level. They're really building each other up. And I think that this is a team that is just going to consistently be that iron sharpens iron, and guys are going to have that competition. And you have players like Cam Skattebo that are really good, but because of what's going on the roster, they're pushed to be even better than that. I'm still really bummed out that Shamari Simmons and Lee Fotanu did not get combine invites, let alone the other guys. Like, I would have loved Xavier Guillory to get an invite. It is what it is. Not everyone's going to go. I understand, but Leaf and Shamari were huge swings and misses for the combine. Well, not even a swing. It's just huge misses for the combine to not invite. But for Cam being the lone player to represent Arizona State in Indianapolis, he showed out in a big way. I was very happy, very impressed, and I think that it's going to do a lot moving forward for his potential draft positioning. So I mentioned this earlier. If you're just getting into the live, I said that he didn't run the 40, and there's a chance he doesn't, even at ASU's Pro Day, and I'm anticipating he will, but he may not run the 40. I truly am of the opinion that he has more to gain with a good 40 than he has to lose with a bad 40. Because, like, he went today before he did the workout as is probably like a mid to late day 2 guy, right? Maybe he slips to the top of day 3, but then after he posts that broad jump and the vertical jump, and he has decent measurements and answers questions and everything, now it's like, yeah, that's definitely a top 100 pick, maybe even a little bit higher. Like, there's no way he's getting out of day 2. If he were to run a 40 that ended up being better than we anticipated, like the floor seems to be a 4.6. If he runs better, a 4.52 was the example I gave earlier. You could see him rise as high as like a top 50 pick, and maybe he ends up being the number 2 back in the class. Be really interesting. So I'm going to be paying attention to what he ends up doing at the pro day. And that also goes for what we see at the pro day for Shamari Simmons and Lee Fotanu and Xavier Guillory and the rest of the guys that are going to the pros. They're going to have a really nice opportunity at ASU's pro day to show themselves off. And, they're going to be playing with that chip on their shoulder. They're going to be working out with that chip on their shoulder because I didn't get invited to the combine. I'm Shamari Simmons. I'm the best defensive back in this class that no one's talking about. I'm Lee Fotanu. I'm the best center in this class that no one's talking about. Well, here's my pro day. I want to show you guys why you were wrong to not include me in it. All right, let's go ahead and start wrapping this up. We are somehow already at 31 minutes. That is crazy. And it's been a good live. I appreciate everyone for coming in. This is one of the busier ones that we've had in the last several weeks. So really nice to see you guys all in. Maestro, I know I've seen you here before. I can't remember how to pronounce your name. My apologies, but it is good to see you. That was Rod Tidwell and Jerry Maguire. He went to ASU and then was a Cardinal. I would manifest it, just not what happened with the actor. If we can get Rod Tidwell, the fictional character, to be what Cam Skattebo is, then yeah, I think everyone is going to be all over that. Also, Dillingham is the right guy at the right time. He is turning this thing around, man. He is so special. And I don't know how many episodes I have spent on Locked On Sun Devils at this point, just singing the praises of Kenny Dillingham. It feels like it has been endless, countless amounts of times. And we're not done because of everything that he has done for this program. Andy and AZ said it perfectly. Dillingham bleeds maroon and gold. One of the best things to happen to Sun Devils football in a long time, and potentially one of the best things to happen to ASU athletics in a long time. But yeah, really good day for Cam Skattebo, in my opinion. As we're wrapping up, let me know in the comments what you guys think for Cam's day. Did you think it was a great day? Did you think it was an okay day? Do you think that he maybe screwed himself by not doing the 40? What are your guys' takes? Leave a comment for me as we are wrapping up so I can see what your guys' opinions are. And if you are re-watching this live, because again, this is all going to stay here for you. If you are re-listening on Spotify or Google or iTunes or Amazon, anything like that, hit me up on Twitter, RichieBrats36, the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. I want to know what you guys think about Cam Skattebo's performance at the Combine. Was it good? Was it okay? Did he not do enough? Any other opinion that you might have? Bottom line for me, I thought this was a good day. I thought this was a good workout for him. Even with him doing, I wouldn't call it the bare minimum, because a bare minimum would be showing up there to get your measurements, have a couple of interviews, and then check out. That to me would be the bare minimum for what Cam Skattebo could have done. And there was a part of me that at a point in time didn't think he was going to do anything, because I know that it was announced he wasn't going to do the 40, and it felt like he just was not going to do any workouts, period. Like that was it. It was going to be the 40 that he wouldn't do and nothing else. Show up for the measurements, show up for the interviews, and check out. You couldn't necessarily blame him because, again, the ASU Combine is going to be coming up within the next few weeks or the next month or so. I don't have the date. If you guys know what it is, let me know. I haven't seen anything for it. But when that rolls around, I do anticipate that Cam is going to be much more active for the workouts. I do think we see him run a 40 and the 3-cone and all the other agility drills that will show off to NFL scouts. Like, yeah, there is a little bit more of a bend and twist in the way that Cam Skattebo is able to play the running back position. It's not just this up and down, straight up runner between the tackles. Like there is bend and twist to his game, and he can go outside and he can make guys miss in space and everything like that. Blah, 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 blah. I do think that we're going to see that more when the ASU Pro Day rolls around. But again, he could have done it at the Combine. Take it with a grain of salt. For some people, that's a really big red flag. For some people, it's like, whatever. Maybe he's not feeling the best. Maybe he's injured and he wants to save it for his pro day. It's not uncommon that these guys go to the combine and just don't work out. Some of them are healing from stuff. Some of them are dealing with a nagging injury, or maybe they had a smaller surgery that was not disclosed until recently. Like, there's all sorts of stuff. Maybe you're just not feeling well. You got the flu and you can't stop puking. Like, it's not uncommon for guys to not do any of the events at the combine. So I'm not putting a lot of stock into Cam really hurt himself by not going and competing with everyone else. Like, there's one guy in this class who is getting ripped to shreds right now for his, how are they describing it? His unwillingness to compete with other guys at his position. I'm sure you guys know who I'm referring to. You can talk about it amongst yourselves. I don't really have an opinion with it, but I don't mind that Cam forfeited some of the events. I'm very happy that he did do some of the events, and I think that ultimately it is something that is going to help him in the long run. That's my thoughts. Again, the 4 teams he spoke to, in case you just got in towards the end here, he spoke with the Arizona Cardinals, the Denver Broncos, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Chicago Bears. Good weekend. He was within like the top percentiles of both the broad jump and the vertical jump for the position, despite being 5'9", 219 pounds. Great weekend for Cam Skattebo. I think that his draft stock is improving, and I don't think there's anywhere to go but up. I mean, unless he does something really stupid between now and the draft, and that's not Cam Skattebo, I don't see any reason why he won't continue to improve his draft stock, and maybe we see him be a top 75 pick, maybe a top 50 pick. Maybe he can sneak into the first round. I don't know. That's what I think. Again, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think as we wrap up here. A few more comments that got dropped for me. Andy and AZ. Cam has the intangibles going for him. I agree. Like, sure, he may not be the athlete that Reggie Bush was when he was coming out, but it's not Richie Bradshaw that's coming out of Arizona State here. Like, there is more than enough athleticism and intangibles here for Cam Skattebo. Jonathan Garcia, speed is not as strong a point, and that's not a secret. He would have hurt his stock if he had ran the 40. I hear you. I do. But like I said, I feel like there's more to gain than there is to lose, because we're already going into it assuming he's not overly fast. Now, if he ran a 4.8, yeah, it's going to plummet. But if he runs the 4.6, which is around what we expect, yeah, it just kind of solidifies it more than anything. But if he runs a 4.5 and change, or a high 4.4, that is going to increase him significantly. So I personally am on the other side of that debate, that there's more to gain here than there is to lose with a 40 time. Last comment, Lone Toe Capone. Who else? I believe Skattebo said something about March 27th for the pro day at Arizona State. I will be keeping an eye on that, and I will be keeping you guys up to date on anything else that is going on with the Sun Devils, whether that is football, basketball game tips off in 20 minutes. Get yourself a drink ready to go, because it's ASU basketball. Here's hoping they can pull out a win and just give us some hope for the future, man. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in to this live edition of the Locked On Sun Devils podcast. If you have not subscribed yet, wherever you get your shows, YouTube, audio, hit subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications so you get the update when we post new content. Everything is archived. All of the lives are still available on YouTube or wherever you're streaming your podcasts. So you missed the one from last week, don't worry, you can still watch it. You missed this one, it's still going to be available for you guys. I will catch you all on Monday, because we got to talk more Cam Skattebo. We probably have some basketball to talk at this point, especially with just 3 games remaining. And of course, we got to talk about the announcement for the spring ball. So I'll catch you guys next time. And until then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils. Enjoy your Saturday, everyone.